Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to have you here on Worth the Work. My name is Courtney Hughes Bohennick, but today we are focusing on my guest here, Emily Dills. She is an expert in corporate and executive strategy. She has extensive experience in behavior, performance, and coaching. So, really excited to reference a former episode that I recorded, which was on what I'm calling the leadership gap, and really just like that difference between promoting someone and actually preparing them to succeed in their role in the workplace and what the result of that is. Also, for them, for their teams, for the work product. So pumped to learn more about you. Emily, I will just pass it over to you. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your professional background, who you are.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Courtney. I'm really excited to be here. And honestly, this is just my jam. I love to talk about this work, and there's never an exhaustion of what we can talk about. When we're talking about people and leaders, it's complex. And so just thinking about how I came into this work and why it's so important to me is really just about my own personal journey as a leader, and thinking about how for a long time I was kind of just a doer. I was that A+ student, somebody that just wanted to do my job and do it well. And I did that for a long time and was able to be promoted, which so many leaders are, right? But then we go from just doing the work and taking on the orders of others to do our job well, to really thinking about how we're cultivating a team, how we're supporting the people and coaching them, and how they can do that work. And so that's why this is super important to me. Like you said, Courtney, I work with a variety of industries and teams all across the US and even globally. I started my work in education, believe it or not, as a teacher, and for a long time was really focused on kids and supporting kids and fixing the kids. And if we can really just, focus on them as our future, that, we're going to be in a great space. And I still believe that. But honestly, I think the kids are going to be just fine. I think we sometimes focus so much on young people, as we should. However, we forget about that adults are still trying to figure out what it means to be an adult in the workplace and balance their personal life and their professional life and excel in all the things that they want to do and achieve. And also just be a human being who makes mistakes and doesn't always know the right and the wrong way to do things. And that's all of our opportunity to grow and lean into that. So that's what really excites me about the work that I do, and gets me up out of bed every day, and makes things always exciting.
I love that. I love that so much. So many things that you hit just resonate, I think, not just with myself, but I think with anybody who's really going to be listening. Anyone who has been promoted, you're doing something well, probably, right? Like more often than not, you're doing something well. And so often the key to that is you're doing your job really well. And that's
Right.
where I think this gap is coming in. We take these individual A+, like you said, kind of performers. They're amazing, great. Let's slap a title on them. And now they're in charge of everybody else doing that work. But
Yeah.
people leadership is its own skill. There are so many nuances to navigate. So, when we're talking about this leadership gap, what do you think it is that most newly promoted managers misunderstand about leadership when they're first placed into it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already hit on a lot of it already, right? It's less about doing the job and doing the work and really supporting the people doing that job. And there's a great book I read early in my leadership journey called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. And they really like clearly define that it's not about you figuring out how to do everything. It's about finding the who's, that's their skill set, that's their expertise, and helping cultivate that in them. Some of those people might know that those are their strengths already, and then you're already teed up a little bit to be able to support them to continue to grow. But other people maybe don't even know unique genius, that's their superpower. And so you have to help them find that as well. And sometimes I think the misunderstanding for leaders is that they just want to take care of everybody. And sometimes it's easier for them to do the work themselves versus coaching their teams, because that's what they know. That's what they're used to doing as those individual performers and contributors. But now, when we're talking about scaling teams and really growing people, we really have to find all the who's and get them all in the right seats and then support them while they're there. And that starts with the leader for sure.
I love that. I love that so much. You are spot on when it comes to you become a leader and all of a sudden like it is not just about you. The whole scope is so much bigger than that. Your goal now is to raise future leaders. And I've seen leaders who are amazing at that, who they throw themselves into really just creating like, yes, I want you to be the best you can be, whether it's for me or for someone else, and I just want it to be an excellent positive thing for you. And then you see people who step into a leadership role and they forget that like as a leader your job is to enhance and promote and bring these people along in those really special ways. So love that you brought that in. That is so awesome. I think that if we spent more time reminding leaders, new and maybe not so new, I think that we would see a lot more success. I think we'd see a happier employee base, really.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also really important for leaders to remind themselves that they don't know it all. They don't have all the skill sets either. And that's what teams are for, is how we can all lean on one another's strengths. One thing I think that happens every day, all day, but we don't always name it, is just the different responses that leaders take. So the goal is to have that mentor coaching approach and mindset, right? The sweet spot is having high expectations for your people, but also high support at the same time. So I care about you. I'm going to support you and grow you and coach you along the way and give you all the resources that you need. But I also have high expectations for you to perform and be productive. That's what we want. But that's something that's hard to teach, and it's not something that's innate within every leader. So we have to explicitly give them support along the way to make sure that they are having that mentor approach. And when we don't, we fall into these three other mindsets. And it's just really, it's human nature. We're all this way. Some of us are more innate in that mentor mindset way, but oftentimes we fall into either a protector mindset. So that is lowering our expectations, but giving all the support. So I'm going to really hold your hand. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to make sure that you feel like I care about you. All that great warm fuzzy stuff. However, when we lower the expectations and we're not expecting them to do it because we're supporting them so much, they're not able to achieve. And it's just not clear what they should be doing. So we don't want to fall into that protector mindset. Then there's also the enforcer mindset, which is the opposite of that. High expectations, but low support. I don't really care about you and your dog and your grandma. I just need you to come to work and do your job.
Right.
And that just leads to burnout. It leads to fear, control, shame, blame, all the things that create a toxic workplace. We don't want that either. And then there's the avoider, the one that is just like, I'm not really sure how to have this difficult conversation, how to coach this teammate. So I'm just going to avoid it, or I'm going to plug it into AI and I'm going to send this email and just hope that it all kind of goes away on its own. And we know that that never happens either. And so those are things that definitely come to mind to me, just naming that. And then when we're able to name it and recognize, where do I kind of fall as a leader? Am I naturally more the protector or the enforcer or the avoider? Or am I living in this mentor space and I just want to continue to grow in that area? And once we recognize that within ourselves, then we know what we need to be able to support ourselves to learn and grow as leaders. So I would say, really, in those first 30 days, are really understanding, helping the leader understand their own self-awareness and emotional regulation. So going way, way back. And I'm not talking about like just making sure that they exercise and they eat well and they take deep breaths and all the things. We know all that self-wellness, woo-woo stuff, but really like helping them spend some time just making sure that they are aligned with their own mission and vision personally, how it's connected to their organization, what their core values are, how that shows up in their behavior. Because if you don't have that strong foundation, you might think that you know, and then all of a sudden you're just go, go, go doing the things. And then you don't always have that alignment to make sure that it's clear for your team as well. So the leader really has to have that strong foundation and core so then they can communicate that with their team. And I'm really big on then doing that as a team and making sure that every individual understands what their mission and vision is and core values and how it's connected to the team. So I'd say number one, EQ, self-awareness, just some foundational stability there. And then the other big tactical and practical thing is time management, because it's very different when you go from that individual contributor role and just doing your job and going home to what does this look like? Because oftentimes leaders realize that they have a lot more time than they had before. And that can be uncomfortable. They're like, what am I supposed to do with this time? I'm just ready to be busy and productive and feel that I'm successful in that way. And so thinking about how spending their time well and dividing up their time to ensure they are maximizing what they should be doing versus just doing all the smaller tasks.
I love that. I think that's awesome. I think a company's responsibility, and you really hit on it, is to provide these tools for this new leader. Often, at least from what I've seen, we're not doing that as well as we could or should be. And I feel like the people who are really excelling in this place are hitting on that emotional intelligence, this really like self perception, understanding their strengths, their weaknesses, and going into it from a place of not just, now I'm just in charge. I'm just
Right.
in charge, and so everything is up to me, and I'm going to dictate every single aspect because yes, you are in charge, and now you're the strategy most likely versus the doer, the every second doer. But understanding what that's going to look like for you and for your team and how you can make that better. So just to sort of talk about your work, if companies are struggling in this place, this like, okay, we have these leaders, they sort of just became leaders. We slap titles on them because they're amazing at what they do. We love them. We see so much potential. But from a people management standpoint, managing people is such a skill because you're going to have a team of 15 different personalities and people who put out something different than what they need to receive. And it's complex. Like human beings are complex. If a company is struggling, can they come to you and can you help them fix this?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I did not have the magic wand to fix all the things, right? And that's step number one is really just honing in on one specific area. That's the biggest thing that has been really empowering for me when I'm working with teams is helping them think way smaller. Of course, there are so many things they want to improve upon, and we'll get there. But what is the specific one small goal that we could focus on now and track and measure that could really impact some of these other bigger areas?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I do when I'm working with teams is collecting some data with them and really doing a pre-assessment to identify what are some of these pain points, what are some of these trigger areas, and then let's hone in on one of those. And then I have a very specific way that we really go through that process. And then, like you said, Courtney, people are complex and it can get messy, and that takes time as well. So, really helping teams be reminded that this is a process. This is not just a check the box training that we did on our LMS system, took the quiz, and now all of a sudden, we know how to communicate, right?
Please,
These
God, no.
no, exactly. These are competencies, not skills, in my opinion.
Yes.
So competencies are things that we're continuing to grow and we're never going to fully achieve because that's how human beings are. That's really important to me with teams as well. And just working with organizations that prioritize this and know that this is not a transactional approach. This is not a sit and get. This is something that we're really going to have to dig into together. But time is of essence, and these are busy people. So, how can we do this in ways that are bite sized, that are consistent, that are still interactive and engaging, but are doable for organizations that are very busy and do have a lot of things going on?
Right? And now more than ever, I would assume. It's an interesting world out there that we're navigating, we're working through. The workplace is ever changing. And I'm sure, that was true 10 years ago, that was true 20 years ago, but there's so many different facets at this particular point in time. It feels like every single month we're facing a new hurdle. And so really trying to ensure that people are not getting lost in the shuffle of it. So
Right.
you hit that so on the head. I love that so much. I want more people to hear that we are taking this stuff seriously. We see it. We're seeing these gaps. We're seeing these areas of, there's lots of room for improvement and there's ways that we think that we can do better moving forward than what's just been done or handed to us in the past. Is there anything specific that you'd like to share with that regard? Do you feel like conversations are transforming? Are they becoming more open?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think they are becoming more open, and it's really exciting to see so many organizations that really are prioritizing this. I think everything's a pendulum, right? And I'll be honest, like during COVID, right? That was a whole new reality. And so the pendulum really shift to well-being and mental health and prioritizing all that, which is so important. However, we also we started to shift and like but we also have to go back to work too. And it's that balance of high support and high accountability and expectations. And so it's exciting because I think we are kind of shifting back to the middle here of thinking about what does this look like in real life beyond, just the woo woo, like well-being
Yes.
on that side to also we have to make money. We have to be productive. We have to survive. And
We're
so
not living on love, Emily. We're not.
yeah. Yeah, and I'll be honest, in my career, I've struggled with that because I love that left side, right?
Save you and me both.
But we have to connect it to ROI and understanding, and that's the biggest, in my opinion, narrative here that I always struggle being clear with is how this is directly connected to your budget. Because when we think about growing our people, retaining our people, attracting new talent within the pipeline, at the end of the day, that saves us money and that makes us money. And
Yes.
so that is the end goal, right? That is the main thing. But when we are just seeing what's in front of us and the fires that are here right now, sometimes we lose sight of that and we continue just to do things the way they've always been done. So I think it's a both and. I think it's exciting because I do think people are seeing that and prioritizing that, but I do think there's still a lot of opportunity to grow.
1,000,000% could not agree more.
A mentor once told me when we're talking about change, when we're talking about trying new things, your best bet is to start with the low hanging fruit, to start with the new and the willing. So the brand new staff that will take on any support they can get. They're just a sponge. They just are in that learning mode. They don't know any better. So just those brand new puppies, just like wrap around those guys, right? Super passionate about just the early to the workforce population, whether that's young people, Gen Z, even like all the exciting things we're doing in high schools and colleges and post-secondary readiness. And then obviously people that are in transition and coming into a new role as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be young people. So the new and then the willing, the people that are already passionate about it. And those are the people that are open to learn, open to grow. And the naysayers, they start to see things happening and they're like, well, hey, wait a minute. And that's okay too. So I start with the new and start with the willing.
Awesome. I love it. There's going to be lots of people that can learn from that and who can take that and really kind of move the needle at least a little bit. That's all we're trying to do is make small positive changes. That's where we're going to see the most growth and makes me excited. Any growth, any positive growth, anytime that we're excited about helping people be better in their workforce, I'm pumped about it. Emily, I'm so super grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for everything that you were willing to share. On this episode, I will, of course, link in your LinkedIn. I will link in your website so that anybody could get in touch with you, organizations, individuals, anybody who needs a little bit of additional assistance. You would be an excellent resource that I would highly, highly recommend. And I've so enjoyed our conversation.
Same, same. Thank you so much, Courtney, for everything. I really appreciate the opportunity and am excited to help this reach more folks.
Awesome. Love it.